Hi, I'm Kenneth Fleener, your bushcraft preacher, and this is Free Kicks Outside. It's time for an adventure. Today, I'm going to be making redneck reloads. This is something my grandpa taught me. He was born in 1912, and he had to go all the way through the Depression. And well, when you're going through the Depression, you don't have a lot of stuff to work with. So, going by that, I've always been making these loads, and they've worked great, as far back as I remember. And they worked great in my 100-year-old Richards Belgium, which is made somewhere around 1896, 1897. Not exactly sure precisely what year, but it's pretty close. What I'm going to be loading it with is a Magtech brass shotgun shells. These are 2 3/4. I'm going to be using Ogden, that's how you pronounce that, Pyrodex RS. On your Pyrodex, measure it by volume, not by weight, though, because you'll blow your damn self up otherwise. But when using these, I've already pre-primed all my brass rounds, so I'm glad to use a plastic round and show you how to redo that here in a minute. But what we're going to be coming up with, we're going to take that there, we'll turn it into that there. Now this is a single op buck. I thought what I had was going to be a little bit bigger, but it ended up not being. That's wax in the tip of it that helps curve the process, but there we go. Already pre-primed, ready to go. Let's get started. All right, here's what you need to do this. Old piece of leather, and what you're doing with that old piece of leather is you're going to take one of these shells. That's one of the brass ones here. Or see, you can take a piece of cork and mark it out. Your little, you can see, you can see the round lines there. So basically what you're doing is you're just taking the brass shell. That's why I like using brass, because it makes it much easier. You know, set it down there, apply some pressure to it, give it a few good little twists, and it should be marked out. Yeah, you can see that, I hope. That's one thing. After you get that, you take your scissors, cut out that. There you go. We'll get into that in a second. I'm going to be loading these with Pyrodex, and got a little shell here. I've already cut down to the powder I want to use. It's about 75 grains, something like that, around 75 grains. But if you want to get a little bit more precise with what you're doing, you can get one of these fancy little powder measures here, like that, or you can go and buy the Lee powder measure kit, which also has a nice handy dandy little gauge in it that tells you what powders are to go with your kit, so you don't blow yourself up. So we're going to do the powder. Shoot. Literally. Now that I've measured that out, tapped it down slightly. I poured it. All right, okay. Hopefully you got all that. Then, like I said, I'm doing these already pre-done, and I'll show you how to kind of redo one of the caps at the end to reprime these suckers. But I'm going to just pour my powder straight in. Take my piece of leather, set it in there, like so. And I found out one of these just little highlighter Sharpie markers works. You can also use any kind of rod, really. This is a sharp diamond crested sharpening rod, which is nice. Then you want to just pack it down nice and firm. Got that. Now, what we're going to do, take a cork. Drop my my stuff. And I'm going to measure about half. I've done this for a while, so it's just kind of like, And then we're going to go with half again. There we are. Now, if you're wondering where can I get cork at, well, pretty much any hobby store, they got these things in it. You can just pick them up pretty quick and easy. Like I said, people like to reuse stuff. Back during the Depression area, well, there was pretty much a lot of cork going around. So, well, with our, already got it primed, powdered, packed. Now it's time to go ahead and put our cork on there, which is our base layer. And I know somebody's going to be like, oh, hey, wouldn't that there catch on fire when that explodes out of there? The beautiful thing about leather is that you got to have some serious heat on that sucker. And sometimes it's a little bit of a pain to get these started, but when you do get it, you just kind of push it in there with your hand. There's that. Take our little packer, push it on down. I can't get the leverage on it from this angle, but as much as I'd like. So I had to use both hands. Sorry about all that. I'm trying to keep this camera as steady as I can in front of me. Now that we've done that, we're going to go to our other portion. And that's loading it up. Right, this one I'm going to use sinkers. Simple. There's number 3. Also got number 4. The number 3 roughly come out to be about a single-aught buck. Yeah. Give or take. I couldn't find any bigger ones after all this COVID stuff going on. Hard to get a hold of stuff sometimes. All right. Let's drop 1, 2. Yeah, I ain't even closing them up. But when you do buy these, you want to make sure you got the ones that doesn't have the fin on the back of it. Got 4 of them in there, so just keep going. 5, 6, 7. There's 8. Okay, get them stacked in there like that. Nice and pretty. I'm going to put 12 in this. I'm sure there's somebody out there somewhere going to say something about this. Oh well, guess what? I don't care. This has worked for me for a very long time. It worked for my grandpa, worked for my dad, worked for my brothers. And I still use it. Well, once I got 12 in there, what I'm going to do, and this is important, you usually got one of these nice, flat, smooth sides. That's why I'm using the cork. So there's, of course, 2 smooth sides to the cork. That's going to always be your top, no matter what. You want to make sure that's your top. The other side can be kind of jagged and chewed on sometimes, because, well, it's cork. What are you expecting? Then what we're going to do, of course, same thing we did before. We're going to work our way around it, take a little bit of our thumbnail, just kind of tink under the edge to get it started in the hole. Once we got her in there, okay, there we go. Grip on that. And yes, these are pretty firm in there. And I've been firing these out of this Richard for quite some time. All right, that's nice and firmly planted in there. Now, the wax. And you're probably, well, what's the wax for? Well, the wax seals and prevents moisture from getting into the sail because, well, it's a cork. in the middle as much as possible. Now, normally, I would heat this up and just pour it on top, but I'm in the garage and I really don't have any way to do that. So, the other thing about the wax is if you got colored wax, which that is the best to use, it tells you exactly what your round is when you first pick it up. So I'm using red. I know that's single out buck. That's a buck round. That's all there is to it. I do have a tannish colored one I can use as well, but I ain't going to use that today. But nonetheless, the object is to keep moisture out. Now you can put oil on this, but if you do that, you want to store them flipped around the other way, like upside down, because there's a possibility that I'm going to have to mess with this a little bit. This hairdryer has a lot more hit behind it than the other one did. Just try to keep it at the right distance here. It's kind of hard to do this while camera and make sure it's in frame. But like I said, this serves two purposes anyway. One, it keeps everything dry and our moisture won't get into it, and it lubricates your barrel as this goes down it. Wax can be kind of a messy situation, but I think you get the gist of it. This one here's got a little bit more power behind it than the other one did, but oh well. And I don't know if you can see that or not. You can kind of see it bubbling there, sucking the wax down inside of it. Yeah, it doesn't look as good as that one does, but that's not really the point. That's the difference between pouring one and, well, not pouring one. So yeah, either way, that's how that's done. Now let's do the final thing and do a prime job real quick, which I'm going to use a plastic round for that. I do want to get my thing back on. So I'm going hunting and I need to have these done. So in order to prime it, you just need something with a hole in it that's preferably metal. Center that up. I'm going to use anything with a pointy front end on it. So here's a point on that. I don't know if you can really see in there to do it or not. There should be a little slot right in the primer that you should be able to stick that into and fill it. Then you can take pretty much anything that you use as a wacky device, pop that sucker right out of there. That's a 209 primer. In order to be doing the brass ones, though, I use like a fully metal, like eyeglass straight screwdriver, because it gives me a second purpose. I can fix my glasses while I'm there. Then we'll take the 209 primer, slide that in there, put it on the flat metal surface. Then stop for a second. Well, I can't seem to get a grip on that to screw that back out. Huh. I won't. But you can take a shaft off of a quarter drive socket, well, just cheap junk one, with a cheap junk 8mm socket. That ain't really good for much of anything else. Stick that in the center. You should be able to feel where it hits. And then just a couple good taps. Try to get it flush. As you can see, it's not quite flush yet, so we're not there. All right. Now we're golden. It's all smooth all the way across. There's that. I've never actually used this on a plastic shell, and I've only used it on the brass shell. So that's the difference. And we will test these out later just to show you what they do, probably in a little short video or something. But until next time, I'm Kenneth Leaner, your bushcraft preacher, and this has been Free Kicks Outside, where it's always stick 30 and it's always time to get outside. Get outside already.